Hi, teammates. My name is Sean J. McCaw. Thank you for tuning into this season ending the fourth quarter, where the goal is obviously to inform, educate, and possibly, hopefully, entertain those of you that are interested in European basketball. As I said before, this is the last one for this season. There will be a season two. There will be some changes that I'll tease in the next few weeks. So I'll take a couple of weeks off and let my brain click a little bit, and then I'll start slowly introducing the new features and the changes in the season two. But for now, I'm very excited for this interview right here. One that I'm really looking forward to. My guest tonight on the fourth quarter is a retired vet that has really bounced all around the world in his journey as a basketball professional. I'm a huge fan of his. He wrote a book that I read. This is the one, Overseas Famous, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But Kevin Owens is a 41-year-old vet. He played college basketball at Monmouth University and also in the G League before he started bouncing around. He played in Australia, Korea, North Korea. No, I'm sorry, not North Korea, New Zealand, Kosovo, and Estonia. And I asked Kevin to come on and talk to my teammates out there for chapter 11 in my book, this pretty little book right here. Um, Same name, different game. It's about the end of season and returning home. So, what it's like after you've played your first season overseas and you return home, hopefully with some money in your pocket, and the trappings of just that. So, I asked him to come on and talk to us a little bit about that. So, let me grab him and get him in here. Get my guy on in here. Hi, Haley. So where's my guy at? Come
Come
on.
on.
There he
There he
is.
is.
Overseas
Overseas
famous
famous
himself.
himself.
Can you hear
Can
me,
you hear me,
Cal?
Cal?
Why do I
Why
hear
do I hear
myself?
myself?
Wait.
Wait.
I don't know why. Can you hear
Can you
me,
hear me,
Cal?
Cal?
Can you hear
Can you
me?
hear me?
Let me
Let
put
me
my
put my
earpods
earpods
in.
in.
Can you hear me? And I hear myself
And I
also
hear
twice.
myself.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, then I'm gonna take the. Oh no. Okay. All right, let's try it again. Let me see. Can you guys hear me at all or see me at all? I might have to disconnect and come back on. Hmm. So he left. Can anyone still hear me or see me? Okay. Maybe there was something wrong with his connection. Let's see. I'm sure he'll come back on. Come on, we can't be messing up on the last episode. Come on. Let's see. Hi, Noah. We're having some technical difficulties right now. Please bear with me. Hmm. Let's see. Hi, Mike. Just trying to get everything started right now. Hmm. Where's Kevin at? See if I can invite him again. Kevin, you hear me?
Now we're talking.
Okay. Okay. Let's
What's
get
going
this
on?
show on the road.
Yeah, definitely
I
not North Korea. That was the first thing I heard. Yeah, definitely not North Korea. Get away from there.
Yeah, sorry about that. So thank you, Kevin, for coming on, man. I see you in
Of
your
course.
ride. See you in your
Yeah,
ride. You got something to go?
my daughter has to get picked up in a little bit, so I was like, let me hop on, just like get prepared, just away from
Okay.
all the noise and distractions of home.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, thanks for coming on tonight.
Of
Taking
course.
time out of your schedule for my little insight to European basketball or overseas basketball in general.
Yes.
Before we kick it off, I just want you to know I'm like crazy excited to have you on right now. Especially since I was on your
Yep.
podcast, Overseas Famous, a couple of weeks or a couple of months ago. And I remember after everybody hopped off, it was just you and I on there, and I told you, man,
Yeah.
you're the guy that I would like to just go out and have a brew with, right? I just want to hook up with you and just go have a beer and just talk shit.
It's fun. Like I swear to God, like that's my favorite part of just this whole entire podcasting and like going out with the book and stuff like that is you get to meet and you get to meet people and I'm like the same thing. Like I just wanna like I can talk shop like all night long. Like I can talk basketball. I could just sit there and tell stories and stuff because it's and that's like I think why I even got into writing the book is because I was just talking like everywhere I went. People were just like, "Hey, what's your story? Like you're tall." You go to Home Depot and there's like seven people are like, "Did you play basketball?" Now that's the funny part of Overseas Famous is like no one knows who I am. I'm just like some random dork walking through Home Depot. But it was cool to kind of have that and have these all these conversations and I think that was fun and that's like I think that's the most important and fun thing is just want to go out and like I just wanted to treat everything like I'm sitting around talking having a beer with people like just
Right.
let's just chill, let's do this.
And it's funny that you bring up the thing about just being a tall guy walking around over back home, because exactly, I mean, the thing with your book is the same, the title is fantastic because it's really like that. We've got fans over here, we've got people wanting our autographs, things like that. Then you go back home and it's like crickets, like
It
like,
was
like nobody knows who you are.
I never experienced anything like I was in Estonia. It was like I knew it was my final game. I'm kind of like, all right, I'm done. I knew I wasn't playing as well. My knees hurt, my back hurt. I was like, all right, this is it. Like, this is the last time you're going to do it. And I kind of knew it going into that game. And it was the playoffs. And, we had lost. So we're in the consolation. But, like, I knew we were going to win that game. So I was like, this is going to be the last time I play. And
Mhm.
I walk off the court, and there's like a fan. He asks for my jersey. I sign it for him and like this kid was like all struck by this and I'm walking off the court and everyone's cheering and this great thing. I flew home and legitimately got home and like walked through the airport and people were like, do you play in the NBA? And I'm like, God damn it. Like like I just went from this incredible moment where people like everyone loved me to like who the fuck are you? like sorry, I don't want to curse. Like who like in just like a short second and like the next day like going into like a grocery store and people are just like oh what's your deal and it's just so crazy to go from like this high of being this
Yeah,
star to like
yeah.
nothing.
That could be why I stayed over here.
That's a good idea. I swear to God, I've always said I was like if I wanted to stay I wanted to stay in Australia. Like I blew it by going to South Korea because I had an offer for an Australian team, but I went to South Korea because the money was like outstanding. And I, like an asshole, I chased the money, and then I got hurt in South Korea, and like was out for a long period of time, and then I kind of like never was the same player. So I think that's just like the thing that sucked. Is I was like this. I could have been like that American who now talks with like a little twang, like an Australian twang, because he's living in Australia the rest of his life. And here I am in right outside of Philadelphia, New Jersey, and it's snowing and snowstorms coming, and I'm like, oh, okay, what a different life.
Okay, man. So let's get you started. So we'll make sure you get to pick up your daughter. on time. So basically, I've got about 12 questions. It'll take about 10 minutes probably of
Cool.
just about things about from the book, from chapter 11. And then we'll do a little overtime where I get to know you a little bit better. We'll talk about the book as well
Cool.
and the podcast as well. And then that'll be pretty much about it. So,
Sounds good.
so let's get started. Did
Let's
you
do it.
ever play on a team for longer than one season?
No.
Why or why not?
Uh, you always, when you were playing, you were always looking for something better. You were always looking for that better money, better situation, and you kind of got greedy. So as I started getting better and better, actually, hold on, overseas, no. G League, yes.
G League, yeah.
Yeah, I played in the G League for 3 years on the same team. And
Mhm.
that was sweet because, you kind of knew what was expected.
Right.
Overseas, never. Like, you
Mhm.
are constantly moving. Guys are in and out all the time. It's rare to stay on the same team. Even if you stay in the same league, it's rare to stay on that same team,
Right.
even if you're jumping teams.
Um, why do you think you never, besides the fact that you were chasing the check, why do you think you never really stayed? Was there any place where you kind of wish you would have stayed? Maybe
I
the team
wish
in
I would have.
Australia?
I wish I would have stayed in Cairns. They had a big guy, Nathan July, who ended up playing for the Timberwolves for a while, and he's still playing now for
Wow.
Cairns. He was a local kid, and he was like, they call him like the Australian Shaq. He was 7 feet tall. He was a big, strong. Still is big, strong guy,
Oh, I
really
know him.
athletic.
Yeah.
Yep. So he was in the youth system, and he was like coming up next year.
Mhm.
Well, they were like, well, we're not going to spend money on an import spot and like waste that import spot when we have this guy
Right.
who, might not be as good as you now, but like in a few years will, but he'll be serviceable, and then we can use the import slot on like the other holes that we're going to need. So
Mhm.
I think that's why I didn't stick around in Cairns, because they had a guy coming up. Other places, it's just, I think there's just, coaches just old. They're like us, like they're greedy, and they're like,
Right.
okay, he was good for us, but this new guy is coming out. It's like a new car. They just want to
Right.
lease a new car every year, as opposed to just like putting in the miles on the same car.
Right.
They're like, nope, I want to lease this new guy.
Did you ever have any negotiations with a team, like for example, that they lowballed you kind of on purpose because they didn't really want you to stay, but they wanted to say that they offered you a contract?
Yeah, there's teams that like, and I had teams that didn't pay me.
Oh,
So there was issues, and then they were like, listen, if you come back next year, we'll pay you. And I'm like, is this like a fucking joke? Like, you just didn't pay me, and then you're gonna be like, oh, by the way, next year we're definitely paying you, and you're like, all right, whatever, dude. So I've had that. I've also had low contracts thrown that I know. I'm like, that team is they're paying big money, and you're gonna like that's what you're gonna offer. Like, no.
right.
So that's you kind of send it back with the agent and be like, no, return to sender. And most of the time, I was pretty like most of the time teams offered me, I was like, yeah, I can do that. Even if it
Mm,
felt low, I was like, I want to play, I want to ball.
mm.
Like, no, I'm good.
I call that contract recycling when they
Exactly.
either offer you something really low because they know you're not going to take it, and then they end up giving that same contract that you just had to the next player or less
Yep.
so that they can use that money elsewhere, So they're keeping the
Yeah.
same level for their foreigners on a constant, but they're probably having a bigger budget.
Exactly. It's crazy. Everyone wants to, the money makes people do crazy things, including myself. So it's just one of those things.
Did you ever have any exit interviews anywhere? Because I
I
had I had one that I was really I don't want to say I was sad. I was butthurt. They basically told me when I was in Oldenburg here in Germany, they basically told me you weren't good enough, dude. Like, and I had to take it. Like it was like, oh, yeah, you're right. And okay, ciao. Did you ever have any like exit interviews
I
where you're like, damn?
I did. Like most of the time, honest to God, most of the time I would like the season would end. We won a championship in Kosovo, and like the season ended, and like the last time I saw our coach was when we were like celebrating, and then it was like the team was like, okay, you guys are flying home, and we were excited to get home. We're like, whatever.
Right.
we like hopped on a plane, and it was just like there was no exit interview, anything. But when I was in Australia, they kind of sat me down, and I honestly knew about the young kid, but
Uh,
I didn't. I thought I like I was an all. I played in the NBL is a big league.
right.
It's like where LaMelo's playing now, and Josh Giddey just came out of there,
Yeah.
and I made the All-Star team, so I was like a really good player. I was like really doing well, so I kind of thought I would get a shot again, but they kind of sat me down, and I honestly thought they were going to offer me another contract. This was at the end of the year, and they're like, "Listen, we're letting we're not
It
resigning you
ain't
next
happening.
year." And I was like, "Shit!" But they did. They were like, "But here's the caveat: you can stay in Australia rent free. Like, we're going to continue paying your salary for like another month and a half, so you can stay for our end of the year party. So like, you'll be here for another month and a half. Basketball is over. You can use all our facilities to shoot and work out, but like you can." And I was like, would go to the facility, work out and stuff like every day, and then I would like go to the Great Barrier Reef and like explore Australia. Like so I was
Mm,
like, all right, it wasn't that bad, so it
right.
was whatever.
Right. Um, that season in Australia, that was your first one away from home, right? You were in the
That
G
was
League for
my
three
first.
years, and then
I was
in
in the G
Australia.
League. Yeah, and I went to Poland briefly. I was in Poland, and like the same thing. I went to Poland in the middle before I went back to the G League my third year, and I was there for like 2 months, and they just stopped paying, like which is
Mm,
pretty common in Poland. Like
mm,
they were just like came to us and they're like, listen, we don't have money to pay you guys, so we're gonna send
mm.
you home, and we're like, awesome. So that was kind of one of those situations where I just didn't get paid.
And then you
Then I
went
was
to Australia.
then I went to Australia. That was the first full season I spent overseas.
Let's talk about like when you went back home. It's a little bit different for you because you had played 3 years in the G League, so you had some experience with getting paid to play the sport that you love. But how was it that first year after you came back from Australia, that first summer or whenever you got back, to actually have money in your pocket and be like, did people like hit you up? Did they like kind of like hey, think like, hey, Kev's got some money, I need to ask him for a loan?
That no one asked me for a loan. Like my friends, it's crazy because all my like the friend group I have is it's wild. I don't think there's many people like this in the world. My one friend is currently like a millionaire.
Mm,
He's an engineer. Did really well, worked really hard. My other friend is like this, like an incredible theologian, one of the highest ranked. Like like he's not a priest or anything, but he's like a scholar, theologian, and
right.
like he's written like tons of books, and he's a professor at Loyola Chicago, like head of their theology department, like genius guy. And then my other friend, like my closest friend, is just is the writer and producer and everything on the show Queens,
Mm,
that just came out on ABC. So
right.
he's like all of these guys like kind of had a dream. So they didn't need my money. Like even if we didn't, I had money at that time and they didn't. They were kind of chasing their money. They didn't really weren't like,
Right.
hey, can you give me? They were just like, and it was the same when what now like my friends, especially the writer in Hollywood, like he's got like millions and millions of dollars and stuff. And like now that I'm kind of home and like a normal job, you're kind of you don't. I'm the same way. Like I'm chasing my dream now, so I
Right.
don't need. I'm not like looking at him and be like, hey, let's fly me to LA. I'm like, I'll fly myself. Like I got this. Like I think that's just kind of how my friends always have been. No one really ever hit me up.
Good.
Yeah, I never had to worry about that.
I was just thinking that a lot of guys, when they first come over to Europe, especially, and they first start getting a check, then they get back home and they blow their saved money, and how that can be really terrible for your finances when you go back home, because I think a lot of people have an unrealistic vision of how much money we make over here, and like that we're
Oh,
all millionaires and things like that.
100%. Like people honestly think that we're like. I mean, I made decent money some places, but like people honestly think that we're like billionaires. Like they can just
Right.
sit there and be like, "Hey, guess what? Like you're making millions. Like, can you buy me a house?" I'm like, dude, like I have to buy a house and pay a mortgage on it. Like I'm not buying a house with straight cash. Although the one coolest thing that I think I ever did was I came home, I bought a house. Again, I put like a huge down payment on a house that, I currently, still live at, but that house I put a down payment on, and then I went and bought, like, it was a used, but it was still really nice. I went and bought a Mercedes, like, with cash, like straight cash.
Mhm.
Like, I was just
Mhm.
like, met the guy who was selling it, and I was like, here. Like, it was actually cash. It wasn't even a check. I like brought cash. I was like, I'll do cash, and like, it was that first time, like, you have like a wad of hundreds, and you're just like, here you
Did you
go.
have it in? Did you have it in one of those yellow envelopes like
I
on
did. I
TV?
did. I thought about that. Like, cause trust me, I love the Wire. Like, that's all I was thinking. Like, I need to get it like that, where I'm just like, here you go. This is real deal money that's coming your way.
So the car, was that your splurge?
That was my splurge. Yeah. Like the house was a necessity. Like I
Right.
wanted the house. The house was something that I needed a place to live. I was honestly, and I was telling like people this story. I'm like I was living in my parents. We were pretty. We didn't have a ton growing up. Like my parents were teachers. We didn't have a ton. We had like a small house, and there was a basement, or sorry, an attic that I like kind of lived at. Like,
Mhm.
and it wasn't big, and our house was small, so like I couldn't bring girls or something like that was just not an option. So every time I started like playing, I was like, I'm coming home. Like I'm coming home and I'm getting an apartment. And I would pay absurd amounts of money to get
Mhm.
apartments every single year, just because I didn't want to, be in my parents' attic. I wanted my own place. So
Right.
when I kind of got to that, I was 26, I think, and I was like, I'm buying this house. So I
Mhm.
bought the house, and that was kind of like one of those things. For the car was like my splurge. Like I didn't really
Mhm.
spend money on anything else, like clothes, because
Mhm.
nothing fit me. So I was like, whatever, I'm gonna spend it on a car.
Um, when you left Australia, when did you get your next contract offer? How long afterwards?
I left Australia. I got a contract offer from Australia. I was I went to this like KBL try. I got invited to this KBL tryout, the Korean
Mhm.
Basketball League. I went to the tryout. I did very well, but I didn't get drafted. And I remember
Wow.
just being like, I just dominated this freaking thing, and I didn't get drafted. So I was pissed. So I was like, fuck them. Like, this is screw this. Like, I'm not going to Korea. And there was another offer on the table for Australia. So I kind of like that was sitting there. So I was like, all right, I'm going to Australia. Like, told my agent, and I was getting married like that summer. So
Mhm.
like, I got back from the tryout, and I was getting married in like 2 weeks. So we're sitting there doing, wedding planning and stuff. And I'm like, I didn't sign it because he's like, the offers, like what you made last year. And I was like, well, let's see if there's another team that will, up it. So we were kind of playing the waiting game, waiting this team out, seeing if they'll up it, seeing if there's another team in Australia. And I got married, and then I'm get done, and I'm driving. I remember we were down in Ocean City, New Jersey, and I was driving, and my agent called, and he's like, "Do you still want to go to Korea?" And they had offered me a contract. So like after that contract,
Mhm.
I like got offered the contract in Korea, and then I went right to Korea. So like
Okay.
I had a few contracts sitting there. I just didn't, uh, you know.
Yeah. Oh wait, did I lose you? Oh,
Hey,
there we
I'm
go.
here.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. What piece of advice would you tell yourself when you were coming out of college for how your particular journey went? What piece of advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now?
Coming out of college, uh,
Yeah.
I think it would just be the NBA is going to be like to get to the NBA is going to be a lot is going to be like an actual viable thing. And I don't know why. Like
Mhm.
I have confidence issues, but like coming out of a smaller school, like I was a Division I school, but we got our asses kicked by Monmouth or by Duke on national
Mhm.
TV. So like that was our while we beat like we had some really notable wins. Getting our asses like we kind of weren't a big deal. Um, so like coming out of Monmouth, you're kind of like, all right, like I'm not the same kind of player.
Right.
And I think that was something that like hurt my confidence because when I got to
Mhm.
Monmouth or when I got to the G League, like I was just happy to make the team. Like
Mhm.
I wasn't sitting there like, oh, like I'm gonna make this team. I got drafted in the eighth round, and or the seventh round, and it was kind of like a complete am I going to make this team? Am I good enough to make this team? And I didn't think I was. I made the team, and then that was like the win. So I almost
Mm.
like felt like that was a win, and I didn't look at the NBA until like year two. It's like, holy shit, I'm like really good at this game. Like, I think I would have in certain situations I would have worked on things that I would have helped me make the NBA more, as opposed to just
Right.
trying to work on everything. I would have honed in on those things and been like, I'm making it. Like, my mindset would have been like, I'm fucking going to the league. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop me, as opposed to like,
So
I'm lucky to be here, and that was stuff.
so definitely the confidence issue.
Oh yeah, confidence. If I knew what I knew then, how good I was, as opposed to like how good I thought I was. If I knew how good I was, which was pretty fucking
Mm.
good, like I would have had a different mindset.
Right. Okay, so now I just got a couple of overtime questions for you. Name your all-time NBA starting five. Position doesn't matter. Can you hear me? Position doesn't matter. It goes in and out. Yeah.
All right, there we go. Here we go. All right,
Okay.
so Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, Tim Duncan, and I'm going Shaq.
Okay. I like that. I like that. Courtside seats, Nets, Knicks, or Philly.
Philly in a heartbeat.
What basketball player would you compare your game to that's currently playing?
Kevin Love,
Kevin Love. KD or Giannis?
Giannis.
Best thing about being a professional?
About being a professional,
Yeah.
the atmosphere, the fans,
Worst thing about being a professional?
also the fans.
What was your welcome to overseas basketball moment?
Um, Probably Poland when I like,
When you didn't get
you
paid?
think, yeah, you think you're the shit, and all of a sudden the team comes and says like we're releasing you, and you're like, what just happened? So like having that whole mindset where you're like, I am the absolute shit, and then they're like, no, you're not. Like we're releasing you, and because we don't have any money to pay you, and you're like, oh, all right, that sucks.
What's your most memorable basketball moment during your career, your professional career?
During my professional career, I want to say the when I was in the NBL All Star, when I was in an Australian All Star game,
Mhm.
was it was the first time like we were partying. We went to a casino. It was like everything was comped. The like All Star weekend, we had like a dunk contest and like a 3-point contest. It was like a very like NBA like atmosphere, and the place was packed, and everyone, you're just like wow. Like I remember that like wow factor. I was like, this is
Mhm.
freaking awesome. Like I'm an all-star in like one of the best places to play in the world, and I'm like, that was a huge moment.
Did you have any game day superstition? Give me one.
um I would always lay my jersey on my knee with my name showing, just to remind myself that like why I'm here. I used to listen to Kanye, like his song uh Amazing, because that was like
Mhm.
a great, that would help me be like, it's amazing. I'm the reason everybody fired up this evening. And you'd be like, it would remind you, like, everyone's here. Like, all those people you're going to go out and play in front of, they're here to see you. So,
Right.
like, hey, you're here and everyone's waiting to see you. So, like,
Yeah.
remember how good you are and go out and dominate.
Last one. What did you look forward to the most before you retired? And now that you're retired, is it that what you thought it would be?
the thing I look forward to the most, I think, was just being able to do the things I wanted to do. Like
Mm,
you give up and sacrifice so much
yeah,
over the course of your career. Like you sacrifice so much. So I think
right,
like having that ability to just go where I wanted to go, do what I wanted to do for a little bit was so big. And I'm not gonna lie, like I miss basketball a ton, but that was something that kind of, you're kind of like, all right, like I like not sacrificing everything I have, every ounce of my body, every ounce of my time, giving up like food, drinking, friends, weddings, everything like that. I like
right.
having the freedom to do what I want in my life now.
Has it pretty much been that way for you now that you're retired?
Yeah, I very like stoic and or very like disciplined in terms of like the things that I want to make sure that I do. Like I'm very disciplined in getting, how I eat and how I, like still maintaining and working out and stuff. But I do think like the fact that I don't have all of that definitely helps.
Okay, man. Real quick, let's pump your book. Tell the viewers where they can find the book and also pump your website and the clothing line and everything like that. Put everything out there.
Awesome. It's Overseas Famous. You can find it on Amazon. Just Google, like type in on Amazon Overseas Famous. Um, the merchandise, overseasfamous.com. You'll be able to find all our stuff, our podcast, everything like that. So everything's just about being, keeping that fame overseas.
Thank you. Hey, Kevin, I know you got to get out of here, man. Go on about your day. I don't know if you saw my DM, but I told you I wrote to you that I wanted to have a beer with you, but I see you're driving, so I can't ask you to do that. So I'll have I'll have a sip for you.
I love it. I
And
love it. And it's great too, because like not only that, it's like, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So like picking up my daughter and just being like, hi, and she's like, what is happening, Dad? So there's that.
yeah, yeah. So thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you coming on. And we'll be in touch anyway. So I love everything you're doing, man. I'm a big fan, and I'm just glad that we got to connect and get to know each other a little bit. And yeah, we'll keep in touch and thank you for jumping on, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Sean. This is great. I appreciate you, and I love everything you're doing too.
Thanks, buddy. Get on out of here. I got to say goodbye to the teammates.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
So, teammates, that was the season-ending fourth quarter. I just want to take the time to say thank you for a successful season, in my opinion, of the fourth quarter, and I look forward to the second season probably in about 2 weeks. And like I said before, I will roll out some teasers and some questions to ask you, the viewer, what might be good for the second season. So thank you for watching, and as usual, please if there's anybody that you know that would like to know this kind of information, just pass it along, and let's get a lot of people interested into this overseas community. Yeah, thank you again. I guess I don't have anything else to say. I guess I'll just sip on my beer because I'm happy that this is the last one and that I actually got through it. Because in truth, I never thought that I would ever do anything before a camera. So thank you again. I know I've said it many times and I'll continue to say it. Thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Old head out.